All right. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Labor Live at 5. My name is Rick Levy. I'm with the Texas AFL-CIO, and with me is Secretary Treasurer Montserrat Garibay. How you doing, Montse?
Hola, hi, everyone.
I'm so bummed today because I had this great idea that we were going to start with, right? Because I feel like we need some theme music, you know what I mean, to kind of roll us in. When I used to do my radio show, we used to start every episode with bony fingers. Work your fingers to the bone. What do you get? Bony fingers. So we're looking for something to reflect that. But then our crackerjack producer, Mark Maldonado, told us that we can't even do that because Facebook doesn't allow real music on these things. So we're going to solve that problem. If anybody has any good ideas out there in the audience about theme music that we could use, send it in to us, and we'll try and liven this up a little bit. But anyway, how are you doing this evening, Miss Montserrat?
I'm doing good. I'm pumped. We had a great early morning virtual conference with workers and feel good about it.
Yeah, it was good. So just to back people up for a second, first of all, welcome to the first Labor Live at 5 in the non-Donald Trump era. So I know that we've been watching what President Biden and Kamala and Vice President Harris have been doing, and the wave of pro-labor actions that have been happening is so heartening. Whether it's firing the union buster at the NLRB, to trying to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, all across the board. It's certainly a new day in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, George, it was a radio show. I mean, if I don't know how much money you got, but I could probably dig up some of those old tapes. That would be certainly something that we could, maybe we'll raise some money for COPE by auctioning off some of the old tapes from the archive. Anyway, but now our attention turns, in Washington, our attention will still be on getting the PRO Act passed, which is going to change the landscape for working people in this country. But in Texas, the legislature is coming back to work tomorrow. And so today, what Montserrat was referencing was we had a press conference where we kind of laid out why the legislature matters, and what matters to our members. And we didn't just sit around in our office with the Texas AFL-CIO staff and say, what do you guys care about? No, it's a long process. We visited with each of our affiliates who have an interest in the legislature and got their priorities. Our first goal is to serve them and make sure that their members' interests are reflected in our legislative program. We've done a broad survey on the internet, and you can take our survey still as we fill out the final parts of our agenda. The link is, I believe it's in the chat, on the comments. You can see it there on the screen. And if you do that, not only do you get to inform the agenda for the labor movement's legislative program, you get a really cool sticker that I think the survey said that 9 out of 10 people that get the sticker think that they're really cool. So there are numerous colors. You can put them on your computer. You can put them on your hard hat. You can put them on your backpack. You can slap them on somebody's back and say, how you doing? And have them walk around with a sticker on their back all day. Whatever you want to do with the sticker, you can do it. And so that's what we talked about today. And so we had a whole group of workers today, kind of in a round table with the press, talking about what mattered most to people in our movement. Montserrat, what struck you the most about that press conference?
Well, of course, the stories of our members, to hear what they're going through. We had someone from Unite Here, Miss Betty Padilla, and she was talking about how, she hasn't been able to work for the past almost a year, and how she was using her credit card to pay like essential things, right? Like putting food at the table and just trying to figure out that she has 7 people in her family, her mother of 77 years old. And, these really deep stories of how people are handling the whole COVID. We had Marilyn Davis, who is an IATSE member, who was, saying that some of their members are homeless, and how the unemployment, just even trying to file for unemployment was a total nightmare, and how they have been, some of their members are going to food banks and just trying to survive. And I think those are the stories that we need to get out there. We need to make sure that our legislators are hearing every single day.
Yeah, that's a really good example because, you see Maryland there, and, the stagehands and the entertainment industry went flat right away. And they did experience horrible delays in trying to get access to unemployment benefits. And so it's just a good example of how our members' lives inform what we do. So Renee Lara, who is our legislative director, became very active right away in trying to push the state on doing unemployment insurance reform. We've developed a 10-point program for unemployment insurance reform that we're going to be pushing this legislative session, and we announced that, and we had a good conversation about that. But that's right, connecting what happens with our members to what we're pushing for in the legislature is really what it's all about. And Judy Lugo, who you see here, who's the president of the State Employees Union, state employees are being forced to do so much with so little. Even in the unemployment system, the folks who were actually answering the calls and trying to get the services out, are being asked to do something that's just impossible to do. They bear the brunt of the anger, of the frustration. They're not getting compensated in a way that reflects that. And we're now worried about even budget cuts and more layoffs from the state. So Judy talked about that. I thought that was pretty powerful as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also haven't had a pay raise in a very long time. And as you and I know, the rent is getting higher, the bills are getting higher, and they're not getting paid any more money as well. So that's pretty outrageous.
Yeah, and it kind of harkened back. You remember at the very beginning of the pandemic when grocery store workers and nurses and everybody were being called heroes, and everybody was full of praise. And yet we've yet to see that really reflected in what people are compensated. And so part of what we're trying to do is make sure that people understand that folks are putting their lives on the line every day to keep our economy going, to keep food on their family's table, and they need to be compensated in a way that reflects that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Claudia Golinelli from the Workers Defense Project, right? And how she was sharing, she lives in Dallas, and, many times immigrant workers their stories are not being told, right? We think that they're invisible, but the reality is that they're the people that get up every single day. Sometimes they don't even have PPE or the opportunity to get the vaccine, and they're still working because they have to decide whether to stay at home, take care of their children, and pay for the bills at the house, or go out there and work, even if they're feeling sick, because they don't have the luxury of staying at home and working through Zoom. They actually work with their hands, right? They're cleaning. They are building our construction site. So her story was pretty powerful as well. And then, of course, we have Selena and part of the EMS, president of the Austin EMS Association. And, her words on how she feels frustrated in a way.
I mean, look at her there, what she's doing just to, treat people. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I when I heard her story, she really touched me because, she said they're the ones that they know their jobs are hard, but this has become to another level, right? Because a lot of the EMS workers are also so devastated by the whole pandemic, and it's really taking a toll on them, and they just feel sometimes powerless, but they still need to get to do the work that needs to get done. So very grateful for the work that they do as well.
Yeah. And I saw Leonard Aguilar's picture was up there, and, from the Plumbers. And one of the things that we're really concerned about is politicians using the pandemic to actually deprive us of our rights, and to lower standards, and to make it easier for businesses to not comply with important safety measures. And we've seen that already with the plumbers, how they're trying to eliminate the plumbers certification board and now using the pandemic as a screen to say that, well, we can't have all these regulations because it's bad for business. Well, no, what we need is effective regulations. To the fact that we still do not have an enforceable health and safety standard in this state, whether it be for plumbers, whether it be for electricians, whether it be for meatpacking workers, whether it be for grocery stores, that every worker is on their own if they don't have a union to fight for safety in the workplace is something that has to be stopped. And I know that that's being addressed on the federal level, but the state must come to the table to say that every employer has an obligation to make sure that they are providing a safe working environment for the folks that work there.
Yeah, for sure. We also had Rena Honey from the the Alliance AFT in Dallas, and the powerful work that the teachers are doing. My union, woohoo, AFT, go! They are fearless. The way that they are organizing every single day to make sure that they're bringing the voices of teachers, but also classified employees, right? The custodians, the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, and the importance that they also need to have the COVID-19 vaccine. It's really right, because we're demanding them to go back to work, but we're not giving them the resources that they need, and that is unacceptable. And the power of the teachers and the classified workers with AFT is really something that I'm inspired. But you know what? We have to advocate for our teachers and the workers to make sure that they have what they need, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes beyond just teachers, right? But I mean, it's just like, it's just like treating workers as expendable and not making sure that they have the PPE that they require, not making sure that they have the health and safety provisions that they need, is really something that's inexcusable, frankly, as we move forward. So yeah, it was a really interesting thing. It's so much more interesting than having just somebody get up there and talk about what our agenda is, but to have it come, have our members be the ones that deliver the message, I thought was really, it was really moving to hear. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, and Rick, I think that's the power of the unions, right? That we have members who are living these experiences every single day, and that we are able to connect them with the legislators who are going to be voting on money for public schools, money for healthcare, money for salaries, benefits, and it's our job to give them those resources that they need so they can go, and even with COVID, right, make sure that their voices are in the forefront of every decision that the legislators make.
Yeah, so that's a really important point that you brought up, because right now it's if this was a normal time, lots of things would be different. One thing that would be different is that there would be labor folks in that Capitol every day talking to members, talking to committees, testifying, et cetera. But because of COVID, that's really not possible right now. And it's going to be really a challenge to make sure that our voices are heard. So we've come up with a lot of ways to get folks' voices in this process. And let's go through a few of them so where people can kind of keep track on what's going on. Number one, again, we urge you to sign up for our survey, and so that we can hear what you think. That's the first thing, because we really need to reflect the full experience of our members. The second thing is we have the YULCO Sentinel. And the YULCO Sentinel, which YULCO stands for the United Labor Legislative Committee. And that's all the labor folks that are up at the Capitol advocating for their unions. Sign up for the the YULCO Sentinel. That way, every week, you'll get an update on what's going on, what the developments have been, and what you can do to help get the message across. You can get that by going to our website and signing up for that. Our website, again, is texasafl-cio.org. Also, you can get our Barbed Wire, which is a great publication that comes out every Friday afternoon. First thing I check, of course, is what the song of the week is, because there's always a song of the week. But we also run down all the important developments that happen in labor that week in Texas. And then we urge you to connect with your union and with your Central Labor Council to so that when the call goes out, when we need voices to be raised, when we need emails, texts, etc. And we're also going to be doing things like videos. We're going to be asking you to record videos that we will send to the legislators so they can hear your voice and hear your story. And getting people, however we can do that, to connect people to this process. It's going to be a challenge for everybody. But I'm pretty confident that Texas union folks are going to figure out a way to make our voices heard. What do you think?
I believe so. You know, we have a lot of the young activists who are super in tune with the YouTube and with the Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram.
I don't like when you talk about me on the show, Montserrat.
I know. I'm trying to keep it low. I'm talking about youngsters,
yes.
You know, that have all these great resources in their tips of their fingers, and they're ready to just press and let the people know. And that's one of the exciting things. Like, we're not stopping just because we have COVID. We're not sitting down and saying, well, let's see what happens. Hell no. We're organizing. We're talking to members. We're educating our members, and we're making sure that our voices are in the forefront. Whether you want to write a letter to the editor and tell them your story, go for it. We can help you. We have those resources. The point and the plan is that we need to get our stories out there so the legislators vote with the working people of Texas. And, you know, that's the work that needs to get done. We're not afraid to roll in our sleeves and saying, let's get to work, because that's what we do.
That's it. So speaking of rolling up our sleeves and getting to work, and speaking of organizing, there's a event going on pretty soon tonight at 6 o'clock that reflects a lot of organizing and a lot of information. Do you want to share a little bit about what's going on? Invite the folks to check it out.
I'm speaking, of course. So today at 6, we're having our 4th roundtable women's conversation, where we're going to be having a conversation about the women in the labor movement and uplifting their stories and saying, I am speaking, I have a story to tell, calm down, people, hear me out, because you know what, at the end of the day, sharing is caring. And when we hear people that look like you and me in different levels of our union, we are inspired to get to work and for our voices to be heard.
Awesome. So how do people tune into that?
So they can sign up. Mark Maldonado will put the link in the chat in a few minutes, and you can just sign up. It starts at 6, and we hope to see you there. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. For those of you who haven't seen the first 3 examples of it, it's just such an array of voices and power, and it's one of the coolest things we do. So yeah, we'll definitely we got time to get a snack, maybe get a drink, sit down and check out. Let's see who we got going on today. Who's going to be with us today, Monse?
So we have our amazing moderator, Latonia from TWU. We are also going to have Jean Schultz from AFGE. We're going to have the youngster, coolest president of the San Antonio Alliance, Alejandra. We're also going to have another youngster, young active labor leader, Sarah Swallow, and the coolest, IBEW Letty Markham, who her story is just simply inspiring. And as you can see, Rick, we're going to have a talented roundtable of amazing chingonas, women in the labor movement that are willing to share their stories so other women can be inspired as well.
Awesome. I'm already inspired. So thanks for doing that. That's great. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much what we wanted to cover this week. Tomorrow, next week we'll be back with you for the February 1st already February. Can you imagine? But as the legislature comes back, keep your eyes open. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, check out our website, and we'll continue to do everything we can to get you all the word so that your interests can be protected during this legislative session. So Monse, thank you again, and good luck on the Women's Roundtable, and we'll see y'all next time.
Right.
Got it?
Got it.
Thank you.